Welcome back to Kotow's Officer Basic Course. This episode will cover the defensive task of Withdrawal, which is one of the methods of conducting a retrograde. Now, retrograde itself is one of the three main types of defensive operations, alongside area and mobile defense, the second of which was covered in Lesson 7. To begin, ADRP 3-0 defines a retrograde as a defensive task that involves organized movement away from the enemy. Now, there are three tasks or movements associated with a retrograde, and they are delay, withdrawal, and retirement. Each of these tasks can be performed either in isolation or in some combination in order to achieve the desired outcome for the commander. A delaying operation is an operation in which a force under pressure trades space for time by slowing down the enemy's momentum and inflicting maximum damage on the enemy without, in principle, becoming decisively engaged. A retirement is a form of retrograde in which a force out of contact moves away from the enemy. Now, what we will focus on today, a withdrawal operation is a planned retrograde operation in which a force in contact disengages from an enemy force and moves in a direction away from the enemy. Withdrawing units, whether all or in part of a committed force, voluntarily disengage from the enemy to preserve that force or release it for a new mission. So keep in mind, the key difference between a retirement and a withdrawal is that the former is out of contact or engagement. You're not getting shot at with an enemy formation, while the withdrawal involves breaking that contact, or you are getting shot at, or you're in contact. There are a number of tactical objectives which a commander may wish to achieve by performing retrograde operations. FM 3-90-1 defines them as the following, which I will also attempt to place in the context of war rights as best I can where it might not be as immediately clear. Now, these objectives, among others, include: Number 1, disengage from operations, or simply seeking to break contact to enable freedom to maneuver. Say, everybody wants to do a mass charge and you have to get to a certain location, so you got to break contact with the enemy. Number 2, gain time without fighting a decisive engagement. Now, in war rights, this can be critical when one seeks to burn some time and it is possible to give up space for that time. So you're trying to, burn some stuff off, time off the clock here so that the timer runs out so you can win. Number 3, resist, exhaust, and damage an enemy in situations that do not favor a defense. In this case, continuing to engage even though the terrain and conditions do not favor holding a particular position, kind of like a fighting retreat type, think of it as. 4, draw the enemy into an unfavorable situation, or extend the enemy's line of communication locks. So basically, in war rights, you're putting them into a good kill zone or a place where they don't have an advantage. Or also in war rights, keep in mind that the flag and main spawn are your locks. That's how you respawn, that's how you get your replenishment. So moving troops away from either asset achieves this desired effect. Number 5, preserve the force or avoid combat under undesirable conditions, such as continuing an operation that no longer promises success. Now, this can occur for a variety of reasons, such as an ally has been forced to retreat or move, or becomes clear that the engagement from that position is no longer profitable from a ticket perspective. You might have moved forward and you kind of culminated and you're exchanging tickets and it's either not working for you or you're not attriting them fast enough or whatever it is, but you need to break contact because the position you're in is just not working for you. Number 6, reposition forces to more favorable locations or conform to movements of other friendly troops. Hey, as other troops gotta move, you gotta move too, so you should always be reevaluating your position. You might have to break contact to get into a new position. Number 7, position the force for use elsewhere in other missions. So, for example, war rights, as you're getting close to breaking, you might have to readjust your position to be better able to support either taking the point or defending the point. Number 8, simplify sustainment of the force by shortening LOCs or locks. Now, this is a reverse of the earlier one, either moving closer to a friendly flag to help you out in replenishment and or closer to main spawn again to help out your replenishment rate. 9, position the force where it can safely conduct reconstitution. In this case, it's a little bit different from the above. Consider moving to a position where you are not being attrited as quickly and can respawn easier, faster from the flag. So, for example, if you're on a slightly above position and you're engaging with the enemy and you're losing troops, you might need to withdraw back a little bit and break contact so you can get your respawns in faster while you're not getting killed. Your troops aren't getting knocked down. Number 10, adjust the defensive scheme to secure more favorable terrain. This is especially true if the overall scheme of defense has shifted, such as adjusting to an enemy attacking on a flank and needing to adjust position to deal with this. So you got to adjust your cover and adjust your position. That might mean you have to break contact with the enemy to do so. Now, number 11, finally deceive the enemy. This is simple, but it's very important. So you might have to do a withdrawal to draw the enemy into an ambush or an established engagement area. That might be a key piece for doing a withdrawal, is to deceive the enemy or to make them think you're not going to be attacking a flank when you actually are going to attack a flank. Now, I think this next part is very important. Retrogrades can negatively affect the participating soldiers' attitudes more than any other type of operation, because they may view the retrograde as a defeat. A commander must not allow retrograde operations to reduce or destroy unit morale. Leaders must maintain unit aggressiveness by planning and efficiently executing the retrograde, ensuring that soldiers understand the purpose and duration of the operation. The commander can counter any negative effects of the operation on unit morale. It's tough, it's hard, you can't always explain what you're doing, but find those times in between the battle to let your guys know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and to understand that, hey, it's not just about this individual engagement we're in. We might even be winning this, engagement here, but it might be in order to win the game, we need to do this withdrawal and get into a position to do something else. So explaining why you're doing something, either, when you have a moment or in after-action reviews, can be very key to keeping the soldiers' morale up. And then when they see a withdrawal work, they might even think, hey, that was a great maneuver. Specifically on withdrawals, remember that these are conducted while the unit is in contact with the enemy and seeks to break that contact. The commander may conduct a withdrawal when the situation requires rapid action to save the command from disaster. This usually occurs after a tactical reverse or after a unit reaches its culminating point. When an aggressive enemy becomes aware of the friendly force's withdrawal or its intention to withdraw, the attacking enemy commander attempts to exploit the withdrawal. It's very dangerous, and usually it has to be done very decisively, so it's a very tough maneuver to pull off, and it has to be done decisively. And the enemy is aware of how weak you are when you're doing it, so timing is everything. Withdrawals are inherently dangerous because they involve moving units to the rear and away from what is usually a stronger enemy force. The heavier the previous fighting, and the closer the contact with the enemy, the more difficult the withdrawal. A unit usually confines its rearward movement to times and conditions when the advancing enemy force cannot observe the activity, so that the enemy cannot easily detect the operation. To help preserve secrecy and freedom of action, for example, the commander must consider visibility conditions and times when enemy reconnaissance can observe friendly movements. Often a delaying or covering force is employed to deceive the enemy in a withdrawal and to keep them fixed, allowing the main body the time and space to conduct its withdrawal movement with minimal interference. A detachment left in contact, or DLIC, is an element left in contact as part of the previously designated, usually rear security force, while the main body conducts its withdrawal. Its primary purpose is to remain behind to deceive the enemy into believing the parent unit is still in position while most of the unit withdraws. It simulates, as nearly as possible, the continued presence of the main body until it is too late for the enemy to react by conducting activities such as electronic transmissions or attacks. Basically making noise and still maintaining that fire along that spacing so that the enemy believes that force is still there, and they don't realize until the main body's already slipped away. There are a number of considerations that a commander should keep in mind when planning for a withdrawal. Number 1, plan a deliberate break from the enemy. Now this should be considered both in time and space for an engagement, so when I want to do it and where I want to do it. Number 2, displace the main body rapidly, free of enemy interference. Now, War of Rights especially, I see this all the time. Troops may often feel tempted to finish a reload or get off a final shot or say, a jab, whatever. It is imperative that troops maintain their discipline enforced by the NCOs to avoid losing tickets through skirmishing and out of lines deaths from such activity. And also you want to preserve as much combat power as you can for when you conduct the withdrawal. Number 3, safeguard the withdrawal routes. Considering the routes includes any obstacles such as water, fences, or anything else that might get in your way that could disrupt your route or delay you. Other considerations could be wandering through fire zones, either friendly or enemy, or walking in front of a damn cannon, for example. But, that's what he's talking about with withdrawal routes. Number 4, retain sufficient maneuver and functional and multifunctional support and sustainment capabilities, just a bunch of mouthful, throughout the operation to support forces in contact with the enemy. Now, for War of Rights, you don't really have much of that, but this you really need to focus on here is the flag. Don't lose your goddamn flag as you're trying to get out. That is very key if you have a flag forward and a flag with you to make sure that flag gets out, or basically the withdrawal will fail, because that's your means of sustainment and replenishment. A withdrawing force may receive help from adjacent units in a number of ways. They include, number 1, additional security for the area through which the withdrawing force will pass, such as blocking an enemy unit from interfering, or flank security, or covering fire, to name just a few. Number 2, information concerning withdrawal routes. Now this is communicated on best or ideal routes to take, of hey, go this way, go that way, so on and so forth. Number 3, forces to secure choke points or key terrain along withdrawal routes. Number 4, elements to assist in movement control, such as traffic control points. It's not really applicable, but I guess sometimes you can have like a detachment of an individual to help direct the rest of a withdrawing unit to a specific position or route you want to take them when communications are restricted. Now, number 5, required maneuver and functional and multifunctional support and sustainment, which can involve conducting a counterattack to assist the withdrawing unit in disengaging from the enemy. This is true especially if you have sent your flag back earlier for security purposes, i.e., okay, where's our flag at, so we can link back in with it and get our sustainment up and going. Executing the withdrawal. Typically, when under enemy pressure, the less heavily engaged elements of the withdrawing force withdraw first. The more heavily engaged units generally withdraw under the cover of a security force using support provided by available fire support and other assets. They take advantage of obstacles to assist in breaking contact with the enemy. The commander conducts night movements and uses obfuscation smoke to screen friendly movement while reducing both the accuracy of enemy direct fire systems and the enemy's ability to observe friendly movements. The security force continues to use alternate and successive positions until the entire force breaks contact with the enemy. So two key pieces here. A, you want to maneuver back in such a way that they can't really see you and use whatever you can to screen it. Smoke, from a screening gunfire force, going into a route that's heavily wooded or concealed, or whatever way, or even just the flow of the terrain and the undulation of it to kind of screen your movement. And then you also want to conduct bounding or alternate or successive positions of the withdrawing force for the covering element to make sure they can get back. So you don't want to stay all the way forward as a covering element. You want to kind of bound back as you can, at least until the entire force breaks contact with the enemy, and then you got to get out of town as well. Terminating a withdrawal. Once the withdrawing force successfully disengages from the enemy, it has two options. It can rejoin the overall defense under more favorable conditions, or transition into a retirement since you've broken contact, and continue to move away from the enemy and towards its next mission. At this point, let's take a look at two illustrations or displays of a withdrawal depicted in film. Now, as you're watching, consider everything we talked about above and how the two depictions show the commanders either effectively or ineffectively executing the principles and techniques of a withdrawal.
Shut up! Do they listen to me? Right! Oh, no.
So King Arthur didn't do a stellar job simply yelling retreats or run away with no organization or plan. He got a couple of his guys out, I suppose. Now, this probably is not the method you want to emulate. Now, the second one comes from the film Tears of the Sun. Again, pay attention to the various techniques of a withdrawal that we discussed above. Try to identify them as it's going through.
Request immediate air support. Location 137.
Copy, Monty.
Take it close!
Roger that. Coming in hot.
Come on, man! Come on! Move on!
So, bit of a better performance there by Bruce Willis and the SEALs. They had a specific point to break contact, with DLIC established to delay the enemy while the main body of refugees broke contact. The delay element continued to engage while moving backwards in a controlled and deliberate manner. Furthermore, they used the terrain and vegetation along with smoke, grenades, and explosions to try and obfuscate and delay the enemy and to hide their movements as much as they could. The enemy was drawn forward into a more open section of terrain where they could be later engaged and effectively destroyed by the friendly elements of close air support or indirect fire, coordinated with the withdrawing elements. All in all, a pretty damn well executed withdrawal, which, although saw substantial losses in the delay element, achieved both the destruction of the overwhelming opposing force and preserving the main body, which were the two main objectives. Now let's take a look at an example from War Rights, this episode coming from a House Divided campaign event played on Alexander Farm. To begin, elements of the Union team formed up for a main attack on the CSA left Union right sector. They faced a defense with MWB and NYV anchored in the center, while a small element of HD, commanded by Rob 25, held a small flank guard. This element could deal with any infiltration efforts, but could not stand against the combined 42nd PA and PB force which was arrayed against it. Rob immediately breaks contact, not even wasting time with a volley, which honestly wouldn't have done much damage anyway and would have just delayed the withdrawal. His placement along that tree line right before the sloping ground allowed him to obscure his initial movement, breaking contact very well. He also ensures not to retreat along a route which would hinder the supporting fire by the MWB and NYV elements further to the rear. HD then joins the line with the other elements with nearly its full combat power intact. Meanwhile, the attacking elements have been brought into an established engagement area or kill zone and subsequently culminate and are unable to advance any further, defeating the purpose of the attack. Rob executed a textbook withdrawal, utilizing the terrain, his awareness of friendly units, and skillful timing and maneuver to achieve the desired results. Withdrawals are difficult, but when executed successfully can be a lethal tool in a commander's toolbox. But what do you think? What withdrawals have you seen in War Rights that are most memorable, and how do you think they can be best used as a tactic in the game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, along with any thoughts on my analysis overall. This has been Kotow, and as always, thanks for watching this episode of Kotow's Officer's Basic Course.